Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. This is part two of the quick look at all my orchids to just see which ones are doing okay and which ones aren't. You know, it's literally, you know, some plants are just okay and some are struggling and may not make it. And this is all this video's for. I'm not naming every one or anything like that. It's just a quick look over the general contents of the grow room, just to sort of see how things are doing. Now this bit's not going to be easy because this plant stands in the way of that one. Every time I water these plants, I move this table out of the way and move this round to here so that I can get in there to get at the plants behind, because I need to be able to reach over, but I'm not doing that today. So right up in the back corner are my two brassicas. They've both got good strong new growths pushing up, and those are producing roots. We should get some brassica blooms this year. We didn't get any last year. They'd been disturbed, had old parts cut off and things like that. And then along the window there we've got my two Laelia anceps. The plant's split. The one on the left is okay and has signs of new growths. The little piece on the right doesn't. Whether that will actually shoot out or not, I don't know. But certainly not looking very good at the moment. I can't see what I'm doing here. Right, in the middle there, with the nice new growth with the sheath on, that is an encyclia something or other. I've forgotten. I think it's Black Comet, that one. And then that's okay. That's grown a nice strong new growth. It's got good roots and it may bloom on that latest growth. This is my Lindleyi, and that's doing okay. It has produced some new growths. It's a bit of an experiment putting it in a pot like that with the media it's in, but it wasn't doing well on a mount. It was failing, so it's getting better. This is my Ivanagara apple blossom that's not doing very well at all, but the latest growth it's maturing. It's this one sticking up here. It's maturing, but it's not strong. This is my Cattleya with the huge big long name with lots of words like red in it. It's my nice red Cattleya. That's got several new growths on it, one of which is maturing up there with the sheath. That's probably going to bloom, and then there's another new growth down here. There's actually three new growths on it somewhere. I think the other one's already pushed on. And then in the middle there is the other antelope dendrobium. Again, that's unlikely to do really well here. It's just not warm enough. Possibly not bright enough, but it's under the light, so it's getting the best light it can get. My Jenkinsii looks a mess, but those were the rescued pieces, put in some moss to try and grow some roots, because the roots had failed completely on that plant. That may or may not make it. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe with the warmer temperatures and my induction of spring via lights and heater, it might actually shoot out. It's badly shriveled, although they do naturally shrivel to a degree, but not that. But they shouldn't be that bad. And then up here are all my rescues. Up the far end there, those are really what's left of my twinkles, Oncidium types. Just in front of there is a dendrobium, not doing very well. Another dendrobium, that's Harveyanum, that's not doing very well. This one looks like it's failed. This was the Primulinum variety Laos, that's just failed miserably. Even the new growths that I thought were going to make it have failed, so that's probably gone now. Some Kikis, forget which. The Dendrobium Berryoda Kikis, they've grown on okay, that'll be okay. That's BC Make, that's probably not going to make it, Cattleya type. It's got virtually no roots at all and it won't grow. a little Cattleya piece of unknown origin that was broken off of a plant that totally rotted. The base just rotted, and I managed to rescue that piece. This is the new growth, very weak, but it has got a few roots. It might produce another new growth, it might make it. And then this is just more kikis over here. This one's a bit precious because this is off the awarded plant. And this one I think is, that's tortilli. So yeah, that's most of these are rescues or failing plants that may still totally fail, unknown at the moment. That mount up there is the awarded dendrobium. It's still got some green on it. Come the spring, if it does come back into life, I will take it off that mount and do something with it. Not sure which. But the plant is safe because it's got many kikis that will push on when the warmer weather comes. So there's enough kikis on there to save the plant. And there's at least one here that's already been taken off and is growing. So the plant is saved, that's the important thing. And then Cymbidium's on this table. This is the only one that's open at the moment with the nice yellow flowers. These two here they're both out of the same pot. What looked like one big plant ended up being two. So therefore the plants aren't as strong as they looked originally because it was two separate plants. But they've both produced new growths. They've both got nice spikes on. Right, if we drop down to here, these are the other three big Cymbidiums, and these are the ones that bloom later. So these bloom into late spring, possibly pushing on into summer. So they're not spiking at the moment, but they have grown new growths. And in one case up the back there, it's got some more new growths coming. They're doing fine. I've got no problems with the Cymbidiums. Right, up on this shelf. Now, although these are not under the lights, they still need light, so they're as close to the roof and the glass in the corner as possible on the brightest edge of the grow room. In the corner there, the tatty looking thing is my Laelia purpurata, failing plant. The latest new growth is weak, but it's produced a leaf and it might save the plant. I doubt it. I think that's going to go. This little Cattleya here has pushed up a new growth. It's produced leaves and it did produce a sheath that has gone brown, so it's not going to bloom. It's trying, let's put it that way. I don't think it's going to fail, it's trying. And then in front of that's the larger of one of Derek's plants. That's Processia radiata. That grows and blooms regular. That one's doing fine. Right, coming around here, we've got another Cattleya. Whoops, I've hooked up here. Another Cattleya down in there. That's got new growths on it. That's doing fine. Then we've got my Dendrobium Victoria Regina. That needs a repot badly. Should have had one last year really, so that will get a repot as soon as I see some new growths. It's not got any buds or anything on it. It's still got one cane with green leaves around the back there. Then this is my Dendrobium hercoglossum that I thought I was going to lose completely, but some of the older canes have still got green ends to them, so not a lot, but enough to help feed the plant. And then up in here we've got quite a lot of new canes, so it's going to make it. I thought I'd lost it completely, but it's going to make it. It hopefully will make a reasonable recovery in the coming season. And then this is my little miniature Cymbidium. Nice new growth, nice new bulb, and a spike just starting. So that's that. And then down onto this shelf, up in the corner there, the tag says Shelob Tolkien, but it's not. It's something like Shelob Marie or something. But it's doing okay. It's bloomed, it's got some new growth starting. Next to that is the big Sherry baby. That again has got new growths pushing on. That'll be fine. This is a pot full of kikis off of my biggest Dendrobium nobile type. I'm going to keep them as a bunch of kikis. Now each one of those should in theory produce a new cane come spring, and those new canes should grow to full size leaving these behind, they may bloom. Yeah, once they've got another cane alongside them, they may bloom, but that's a wait and see. And then the Dendrobium, come on brain, that's gone completely. I'm going to have to get the tag out, that's really annoying. It's not Kaneko, it's Hibiki, there we go. See, it's all buried in there somewhere, I just have trouble recalling it. So that's doing okay. It's got lots of new growths on it, pushing on. It's got some roots. It's in a pot that's too deep for it, but the bottom of the pot has got heavy crocking in it, so it doesn't stay too wet. So because most of the roots are near the surface of the plant. It's also growing kikis, so there'll be some pieces to take off of that and start some new plants. That's that. Down on the floor is my Dendrobium infundibulum. These two blooms are about to go. These two have relatively recently opened. The latest cane had an accident and lost the top. And this older cane here has got two buds here and another one here, so there'll be a succession of blooms on that. Derek's plants live under here. Most have pulled on during last year and have a strong new growth on them and have produced some roots. There's still a couple that are weak, but they just live on that shelf. They get watered when I do the pots and I don't pay much attention to them. They were all repotted at the same time, I believe at the start of last year, so they won't need touching during this season. That should allow them to establish better. And then up here, this is the Coelogene Moriana that's in bloom. Lovely blooms. One spike's gone. The other two are doing okay. The spike that was on the new growth here, the spike's been cut off. The new growth will now progress and open its leaves and produce a bulb. So that's good. This is the Oncidium I came back from Burnham's with 6 spikes on. They're all starting to open now, and they've all got tiny little green aphids on them. Might have to spray it. They seem to like these type of blooms. But it's quite attractive. I won't say it's a big attraction. And it's unusual for me to buy a plant that's not in bloom that I don't know, and I didn't know this one, but it had 6 spikes, so I thought, well, it's going to bloom and it should look nice for a bit, so that's how that one got in there. Right, coming round here, we've got the Paphiopedilum blackjacks down to 1 bloom now on 1 spike. There were 2 spikes and 4 blooms. It's got a very good root system. It's growing okay. It's already got new fans pushing on that should bloom in the not too distant future. So that's doing okay. The other Paphiopedilum here, this is its 2nd bloom. It's only got 2 fans, but it does have a new growth starting. So it should be okay. It should do okay. And then the Vanda over here, we had an accident with that yesterday and lost a bloom. What it was I picked it up to tip the water out of it, and the bloom spike caught up in the canes of that, which is why that was there is now over there, out of my way, because quite often a tall plant gets tangled up in those canes where it was, so I've put it over there now. Won't do that again. But yeah, it was a shame to lose a bloom off of there, but so be it. I don't think these blooms are going to last too long or get to their full size. It's just a weak plant. And it's incredibly difficult to work out what the hell to do with it, because the roots at the bottom of the plant, at the bottom of the woody stem, are not that functional. And there's only a couple higher up. So if I take the bottom of the stem off, so that I could actually pot it somehow better than it is now, I would only have a few roots, and I'm not sure that would be enough roots to actually keep the plant going, because it's quite a large plant. But I think when I get the warmer weather, I'm going to have to do something with it, because it's not doing well in that setup. because it's never going to produce any roots out of that woody stem. And it's quite possible, I've had plants in a situation like that where the woody stem has rotted, and then you end up with no roots. But at least I've got a couple. They've shut down for the winter, it's too cool for them, so the growing tips have stopped. They may well start again come the warmer weather, so we shall see. So there we go, a quick look at everything combined with the previous video, and it is just a quick look. I've just seen one that I missed in the last video, I believe, which is this little mount that lives tucked up in here. That's my only Orangus now. That needs coming off of that mount. I'm just looking at it now. There's some signs of new growth at the base of the fans. There's several plants there together, that's how I got it. You can see that little new growth on that right hand fan there, right at the base. It's difficult to say whether that's going to be a spike or a root. But that needs coming off of that mount. It's been on that mount in whatever moss it's in since I got it. It's old and tired, and it's got enough roots to do something with it before it goes downhill. But that's a shadier plant that doesn't like bright light. So there we go, that's it. I'm not going to do the Phalaenopsis in the kitchen. We've looked at those in the not too distant past as a separate thing. I think we had a look at them all while I watered them in the kitchen. I think that's the last one we did there. So yeah, that's a very brief update on what's left of the collection. And I have to say it like that, there was 180. There's now around 140, and in amongst that 140 are new plants that were added to the collection this year. You know, most of the Cymbidiums were, you know, additions. There's quite a bit that's been added to the collection this year. If you took those out, you'd get a fairer representation of the number that survived moving house and changing environments. And it's not funny, because I think you'd probably be down to about 110, maybe 120 from 180. That's the percentage of plant loss, and it hasn't finished yet. There are still some that are probably not going to make it. So it was a dramatic thing to happen. I know when Insa moved house, he only moved up the road and he lost loads, and he, you know, but, you know, some plants don't adapt to a major change like that, and some do eventually, but they can be set back quite badly and stall for some considerable time and take a while to get going again. So, and during that phase, we've changed. We've gone from mostly intermediate, some up the warmer end, to intermediate down into the cooler growers, and most up the lower end of intermediate. So most of my warm growers are either not doing well or have already failed. We'll see how we go from here. So there we go, and I'm very, very conscious when I buy orchids now of my new environment, because that's how I have to think of it. And that's my first consideration. Are they going to do okay in this new environment? I've got to get the old environment out of my head and not buy for that environment again, because it won't work. So yeah, we do consider those things now. So cooler growing dendrobiums are fine. Most of the Oncidium Alliance are fine. Cattleyas not so good. There are some cooler growing Lalias that I could keep my eye out for. The Paphs seem to be doing okay, and yet where you read, a lot of them are warmer growers, but they're doing fine, so I'm happy with those. Masdevallias have come into their own since moving here. The Odonts should be okay, those type of the Oncidiums, which I do separate out. Anything that's got Odont in it, or is mainly of Odontoglossum origins, are going to be cooler growers, so they should be fine. Things with Brassia in head up well into intermediate towards the warmer end, so they may not be quite so successful. And then the Coelogenes, most of those are cooler growers. Those seem to be doing okay. The Nobiles are doing fine, those types of dendrobiums. So, you know, it's a mixture of genera, and I'm trying to sort out which of the genera in the main are going to do well, because that's what I need to get to now. Not those that are just okay, those that should do well. And then I'll have a nice collection of nice healthy plants that bloom on a regular basis. That's what I'm after. And it will take time. But when we get into next year, I've got the environment sorted now in my head. I know how to deal with the plants in this environment. And I know the overrides I need to do. One of the overrides is the lights. And I'm winding those down now, so that the whole grow room will go into a winter. It won't last long, probably only 4 or 5 weeks of winter when we don't have the lights on at all. And then when we come out of that winter, see, I'll also reduce the temperatures a bit, because what I do with the temperatures is I get up early when it's dark and I put the heating on, so I warm the house so that it's comfortable for me. As it gets light and heads towards daylight, I open this door behind me, and that lets some of the heat out here and raises the daytime temperature. I mean, it's up to 20 degrees in here now from 15. That's a good differential. Well, when I phase the lights down and this place is going to have winter, I'm not going to let it get as warm during the day. I'm going to keep it quite cool. And then come, you know, towards the end of February, we will start the lights again and start increasing the day length. And as I do that, as the day length increases again, I'll start introducing more heat coming in from the house. And if we get a really cold period, I will actually up the thermostat on the heater to make sure I get higher daytime temperatures than my nighttime temperatures. And hopefully we will induce spring and start new growths a lot earlier in the season and give them a much better chance of maturing and therefore, you know, achieving a blooming size for those growths. That's the plan. And there are some that it doesn't matter. The Masdevallias won't be joining in with this little game. It's mainly for things like dendrobiums, cattleyas, some of the oncidium types, yeah, and some of the oncidium types will appreciate that break in growth patterns. So that's what I'm up to, and we won't know if this experiment with the lights and the temperature adjustments has worked until we probably get out into March, April time, and we will either have things coming back into growth at a sensible time at the start of the year, or we won't, and at that point I'll know whether I've failed or succeeded, and then we can look back on it and possibly make minor adjustments for next year if it's deemed necessary. So we'll go from there, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.